Hello! Welcome to another unauthorized and rum-fueled treasure hunt in the sharky waters around the Gatsby Islands with Gatsby Deep Diving Queen Raae! And her Nattermob pirates, Gatsby Deep Diving Queen Raae!
Who's got the... Somebody was watching it.
I was watching it, sorry.
Oh, you were watching it. Go on, Noah.
Paul the Navigator.
Yeah, hi. You messed up my intro, AK. Unbelievable.
And AK, yay!
And you are? And you are?
Där vi är. Hello. I just realized I forgot my box downstairs, but I'll get it later. Or maybe I need it now.
No, you don't need it right away, so you can just like
Are
go
we
as
doing
soon
it
as it...
before or after the break?
Before.
All right, so I'll just sneak off later.
Yes.
No breaks tonight.
But AK!
On it, chop, chop, chop. Open your editor now.
But AK, I will ask you for a story in the break.
Oh no.
Yes!
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yes. Okay.
Are we ready to rumble?
Yes.
Yes. So tonight, I'm gonna just pull Ola all the way down because he's sneaking off at some point. And then we got Paul there to talk to me, and we got people in the chat. It's so nice to see people in the chat. Let us know where you're tuning in from, and if you have any questions, this is gonna be a deep dive in images because I know very little about this, so it's going to be super interesting for me too to learn from Paul when it comes to images. So I think maybe Paul can explain what we're doing today, what our goal is, and I will try to get our site up and running while you're explaining.
Okay.
Are you okay with that?
I'll give you the short version, which is we need to source the image thumbnails from YouTube and ensure that they exist on disk. So we're going to be using something called createRemoteFileNode. And this is so that we can process those images with Sharp, which is what Gatsby plugin image uses under the hood. And once they've been processed by Sharp, we'll have all of our lovely optimized image data that we can pass on to the Gatsby image component. So you get all the optimized and next level formats and the blur up effect, etc. So that's probably enough for now. We're probably only going to do the index list, Benedict, rather than the thumbnails on the individual pages. But let's see how we go. We might be able to. We might be able to do both.
All right.
You've muted yourself, Benedict.
I am muting myself because my intern was in the toilet. So I muted myself. Anyway, so I was just going to say, let's inspect this so that we can see a little closer what you're talking about, because right now we are just using the URL that we are getting from the YouTube API. So this is actually an image then living on YouTube servers, and we want it on like our site and not on their server, right?
Yes, we need to ensure that the image exists on our local disk so that we can then take advantage of the picture tag and also an image tag. Yeah.
Okay, let's go. I'll open up the editor.
All right. So take me to now. I've lost myself. Right. Here we go.
That's okay. Yeah.
So take me to. Oh, we're just going to start, I think, with installing the dependencies. So we need Gatsby plugin image.
Gatsby plugin
image.
Yeah.
We need Gatsby plugin Sharp.
Yeah.
We need Gatsby transformer Sharp.
Ooh, transformer Sharp.
And Gatsby source file system.
Gatsby source. Is that file system in one word?
Yeah, all one word, lowercase.
Are we good?
Yeah, that looks fine. So let's give that a go. While that's happening, let's just get ahead of ourselves and jump straight into Gatsby config.
And Ula can go get the box.
Yes! Yes, 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 I will. The box.
And we can use that to explain a little bit more for Agatha, or AK, who's saying she's lost already, Paul.
All right, okay. So take me into Gatsby config.
Gatsby config.
Yep, and then in the plugin array.
Okay, I'm ready.
I can hear a child.
We are in the config. Woo!
So after Gatsby plugin React Helmet, let's add Gatsby plugin image.
After it,
Yeah, that's fine.
Gatsby plugin, plugin image.
Yep, and in the same way, let's do Gatsby transformer sharp.
Yep.
And now for we need to do an object for the next one. And this will resolve.
Like that.
Yep, resolve. Yep, and then in backticks again, Gatsby plugin sharp.
So many plugins. Plug in. We will go through what they all do, right? At some point.
Maybe. And then it's the options, which is an object. And then defaults, which is an object. It's defaults with an S and spelled properly.
Without A.
Like the word default.
like the word default. Teasing that.
The first key value pair is going to be quality.
Quality. I like how you say that in the English, like the British
Quality.
English. Quality.
Which is going to be a number of 70.
70.
And the next key value pair is formats, which is an array of strings. And the first one is auto. The second one is WebP. And the third one is AVIF.
Like that? Or like that?
The AVIF.
IF.
And then the last key is going to be placeholder.
You have to explain what all of these do, Paul.
I will.
Yeah.
And this will have a value of blurred, which is a string.
Blurred.
So we will do a little bit of this later when we come to use the transform options or the Gatsby plugin options when you query an image. But I like to set up at least some common defaults that will be across the app. So it's always going to source and process the images in the same way. So we're always going to get the automatic version, the WebP version, and then the latest image technique, which is AVIF. Gatsby plugin image is smart enough and browsers are smart enough to determine like which image you're going to use. So there's always a fallback in place.
Yep.
The placeholder is the effect that you get while Gatsby plugin image loads it in the browser. So you have like a placeholder before the actual image is politely or lazy loaded. And then the effect that it uses is we're going to use blurred. There are other options where you can have like dominant color and things like that. And then quality, that's
I guess these are best demonstrated. So
Yeah,
follow along, people, and you'll see
we
what
can make
it
some
actually
changes
does.
later, I guess, and see how we go. Right, so we've configured the dependencies. Now, can you take me into Gatsby Node?
Gatsby Node.
And we're going to do a little bit of a tidy up first, just because we're going to be almost using a pattern because we reuse something in a minute. So I just want to make sure that it's all clear. So first thing would be to move that const YouTube equals YouTube and just put it somewhere near the top of the file because we're going to reuse that in a minute. And then I think we want to scroll down a little bit.
As AK and I have learned in our JS study group, if it's inside the function, then it's scoped to that function and can't be used anywhere else, right? In the in the backpack. Yes, Paul?
Scroll down a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, so on line 27, ID, that doesn't need to be in template literals. That was probably my mistake. That is actually a string that comes back anyway. So that's fine, I think. Yeah, that's good. Right. Now, at this point, we can choose our own adventure. So I'll leave it up to you to decide. But if you have a look at the docs for Gatsby plugin image, there's 2 ways you can use Gatsby plugin image. You can probably find the links for it.
Oh, it's slow today. Okay, so there's 2 ways.
So keep scrolling down. So using the Gatsby image components, keep going. Right, so there's the first one. So the first way you can use Gatsby plugin image is by using static image. And there's a little bit of information about, what that does. But the sort of long and short of it is, if you use static image, you have to give it an actual URL in JSX. And what I mean by that is it's hard coded. You can't. Yeah,
it has to actually be coded. It can't be one of those curlies with a variable inside. It has to be you need to know ahead of time where it's going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And in our case, we don't, because our images are returned via GraphQL queries. If you look in the index page.
Well, now I'm looking here. So thumbnails, they're in there from our snippet. In the index file, it's this one: thumbnails, default, and then URL.
So what we could demonstrate this if you want to, but I'll tell you now, using the URL from that GraphQL return won't work.
Okay.
So we have to use the other option. So the reason I said it was choose your own adventure is, do you want to see it not working? Or can you just get on and I can make it work?
Chat, do you want to see it not working? Or we can do it maybe afterwards. So let's make it work and then let's have a look at it afterwards. Okay, and please, in the chat, ask questions, because I am this confuses me, because we're using static queries, but we can't use the results from a static query in a static image component. So it's they use the same words, right, over and over again, and they're not. They mean kind of the same things, but they're not they can't work together, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think it is a little bit confusing, but I guess static image is hard-coded URL. Forget about maybe the terminology, but if you've got a hard-coded URL, you can use static image. We don't have hard-coded URLs. We have URLs that come from somewhere else that we source. So the other option is to use Gatsby image. However, and this is where things get a little bit interesting.
Ooh.
Gatsby image is expecting, we go, oh, there we go, there will do.
There.
Show me the GraphQL. Scroll down a bit. Oh,
here.
Yeah. So the data that we need to pass on to Gatsby image is the result from child image sharp and the Gatsby image data. So this is kind of a specially formatted set of object key value pairs that will make Gatsby image turn an image URL into the smart picture tags and do all the clever stuff. But in order to use sharp, we can only process images that exist on disk. Our images don't exist on disk. Our images at the moment are just URLs.
So what we have is an in-between, but we can't use them in static image, even though we have the URL, because we don't know the URLs ahead of time. So we can't use static image. And we can't take that URL we're getting from YouTube and then just push it into Gatsby image. So we need to do something different here. We need to then we can do our boxes, Ola. We need to get the images from YouTube into our GraphQL layer, and we have made a little prop to show that. Let's see if we can make it work, Ola.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say something first.
Yeah.
This is YouTube URL, and you have GraphQL.
GraphQL. Wasn't
Yeah,
that
like a famous rapper once said, the AK. Yeah. Yeah. That was your rhyme, wasn't it, AK?
That is my rhyme.
I love it. I love it.
Now.
Yeah, it's great. Okay, are you guys ready?
So what
I
we're trying
got-
to do is we are now trying. What we're going to do afterwards, Paul's going to show us how to do is like get the image from YouTube and into the GraphQL data layer, and now we're going to show it with our props. Okay.
Okay, so
So give me
inside
the image,
of YouTube-
Ola.
inside of I'm just going to say inside of my YouTube here, I have a thumbnail. Do you guys see the thumb?
Yeah.
Do you see the nail? Yeah, that's the thumbnail right there. Okay. Oh yeah. Sorry, I'm a little small here, maybe. Yeah, that's the thumbnail right there. Okay. Are you ready? Okay,
Yes.
ask for it. Ask for it.
Okay, so we need the thumbnail, YouTube.
Okay, here it comes. Here it comes. Oh my God, it's going. Oh yeah! Woo!
Very good. Very
Alright.
good.
And now
Oh.
we're going to do that with code, people.
Yeah. But can I ask a totally unrelated question?
No.
No.
Yes, it's very important. We got this comment here, Darlo Miguel. But how do I answer him? He's got this weird little sign underneath. Is that Twitch?
That's Periscope, isn't it?
Periscope. So
How do I get in there?
that we don't do that because it's just like it's really weird. But we love that you are commenting, but we are trying to keep the comments over on YouTube because it's easier for us to answer.
But hello, Darlo Miguel, coming in from PH. That's great. I think that's
Cool.
the Philippines.
Yes,
Might
I
be.
think so too. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Cool.
Peace out.
Peace out. So, Paul, how do we then do that?
Okay, so it's going to be
Using
a
code.
two-step process. The first thing is that we want to source the image and pump it into GraphQL. We'll leave it initially as the type, the data type that it comes back as, which is a string. So if you take me into Gatsby Node, somewhere near the bottom.
Here.
Yep. And we're going to use a new extension point. So it will be exports.onCreateNode. So it's like a new function underneath everything else.
Okay. On create node.
Node. Yep. Which equals an async function.
Okay, so I need an async in front.
And then we're going to destructure some params, which the first one will be node, which is going to be the actual data type. The second is actions.
Yep.
And we're going to destructure from actions, create node. And then after that, we're going to do create node ID, which isn't part of actions. It's just another.
Oh.
Sorry.
Because that makes a lot of sense. Create node ID.
And
not
then-
ICE ID.
And then after
Just
that,
that your
catch.
typing was excellent tonight.
Huh? What? Oh, it is excellent tonight. That's because I'm just like a third way through this. Okay, keep on going, Paul.
Then after that is cache.
Oh, I have had problems with that before, but it's solved. It's solved. Okay.
Right. So the first thing we're going to do in the function body is write an if statement. And it will be if node.internal type equals.
Is it internal type with a big T?
Sorry, internal dot type.
Oh.
Equals, and all uppercase YouTube, which was the constant that we moved outside the function earlier.
How we are doing it here is that we are checking to see if this node is the node we have created here.
Yeah, so onCreateNode fires for every data node that goes into to Gatsby's data layer. We
So
want
for
to
the
perform
yeah, for the people who are new here, then we in the source nodes we are asking the YouTube API for all the Nattermob videos, and then for each of the videos we're creating a node, and that's the ones you saw on the index page. And now we're going to do something to these nodes here in onCreateNode. And if we weren't checking this, we would do it for every node being created by Gatsby, but we want to do it only for the ones that we are making, right?
Yeah, exactly. And when we created, you can see it on line 30 there, when we created the node types, we gave it a type, which is YouTube in capital letters, which is that constant. So now we're checking if the internal type is equal to YouTube, let's perform this function. And the function that we're going to do is create a new key value pair on the node object, and we're going to call it image. So it'll be node.image
node.image
equals await, and it's createRemoteFileNode.
Well, we don't have that. Should I have that from actions?
We need to import that actually, because create remote file node. Yeah, we'll come back to that. Just do that as a function.
It came in from somewhere when I entered.
It come in from Gatsby source file system, which was one of the plugins we installed. So that'd be a function with a single param of an object.
Okay.
That's it. And the first object key we need to give it is URL. So this is the URL to the remote file. Now I know from our data, we know where this URL is going to be. So it's going to be node.snippet.thumbnails.hi.url.
So this is actually the action that is like getting that thumbnail, back to what we were doing, grabbing it from YouTube, putting it in our graphical box.
Yeah, that's it. And that's why it has to be async await, because it's a remote file node. So we need for it to come back before we can action anything. Yeah. So underneath URL, we need to also give it a parent node ID, which is going to be node.id.videoid. And then we're just going to pass.
Was it node ID video ID or just like, this is correct, right? Node video ID.
Node.id.video ID.
Like that?
That's it. And then there's some required params for this function.
Okay. What do you mean?
So underneath parent ID, there's going to be some required params. The first is create node. The second is create node ID. And the last one is cache.
So we're just pulling them through from the...
Yeah, they're destructured. So, and just did that, that create remote file node did import correctly, didn't it? It came from Gatsby source file system. Is it near the top of your file?
Yep.
Yeah.
Create file node from Gatsby source file system.
All right. So now back in your terminal, let's give the cache a clean and then run develop again.
So that would be run npm run clean, right? We have one of those.
So that's going to clear out our Gatsby cache because we're kind of messing with the data structure now. So I just want to make sure we're starting from fresh. And then npm run develop, and then give me graphical when it's ready.
Not in the code, but in the terminal. We'll see. Any questions from the chat? Are any of this making sense?
None of it is making sense.
This should become a little bit clearer now that we've got something visual. What was that error I just saw?
I am guessing it's the ID. I feel like it's... Oh, no, this is a deprecated warning that started showing up in Gatsby.
Hello. Can I ask what was in the cache? Why do you need to clear cache in GraphQL?
So this is the Gatsby cache. So every time you run a build, it will create that little cache folder, which means the builds run faster. But when you mess with Gatsby Node, it's often a good idea to clear the cache just to make sure that we're actually looking at fresh data and not stale data.
Okay, let's see. People are...
I have
are going to need some explanations.
Yeah, we
So
need some explanations. We have 2 comments from the chat. There's an anonymous guy in Sweden saying, "I have no idea what you're doing," and then it's a lady from that Periscope you've been talking about. She says, "So nerdy, sweaty face, sweaty face." So
but
maybe
I
you
know
can explain what
who
you
she
did.
is. She's a privacy expert here in Norway, and I don't think she codes, but she likes to watch our streams every now and then. Anyhow,
But we can still explain so that she will understand a little bit. Yes,
we will try. So what do you? I think this will like now we're gonna
It
see
should clear it up a little bit.
a little
Right.
bit.
So what we want to do is we want to have a look at a query for the all YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And if I may, Benedicte, can I encourage you to use Command Space rather than the Explorer? So if you open close curlies.
Open close curlies.
Yep, and new line.
Oh, I didn't want total
All that.
Okay.
They said just for the moment, because we're just going to be investigating some data, pop the nodes. You can go nodes, open close curlies.
I mean, seriously, like there is like a visual interface on the side here.
I know, but there are reasons why the command option is better.
No.
And I just, it's good to learn the syntax for GraphQL.
Well, right now it's opening Alfred, so it's like not okay.
And then Command Space on that, and just pop the title in initially.
I don't see it. Snippet.
Oh yeah, sorry, snippet.title.
Oh, and no colon. I like GraphQL, and why is it not the same as JSON? It's just like it's. There we go.
Right, so just run that. So that's all of our data, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we created a new object called image, right? So it will be above snippet. You should
snippet is the stuff that we have. We asked YouTube, it gave us back all our videos, and it gave us this like snippet object with data. But now we have added an image. So we should be able to do image.
And if you run that, oh, we get an error. We get an ID. Oh, sorry, image, and then it will be underneath that will be URL. Yeah, there we go. So what this has done is create what we've done so far is to source the YouTube thumbnail by using that create remote file node, but that URL is still a string. So we're right back to exactly where we were before with thumbnails. But
we just moved it because we still Oh, let's show people though because we still have it here.
And show me the high one.
And then it's a URL, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we got that URL back from YouTube, and now we've managed beautifully to move it up here.
Right. So there's a reason for that. So the reason
we have moved the string, people. It's beautiful. It is a beautiful work. My intern is clapping.
So the reason I've done it this way, and it will become clear in the next step, is that GraphQL has something called type inference. So it understands based on the data that it receives what data type it should be. Now, a URL to an image, as far as GraphQL is concerned, is just a string. It could be a word that just says, I love cats. It's not an image until the browser understands when it's applied via the source attribute that it gets turned into a file. But GraphQL doesn't know that because it's dealing with the primitives. So we need to give it a bit of a helping hand, and we're going to tell it that URL is actually a file that we've downloaded and stored on disk. And once it exists as a file, Sharp can be used to process it. So that's the next stage that we're going to do. But I don't want to overwrite any existing nodes like the thumbnails high URL, because it's going to mess with other parts of our application. And I just want to leave that data as it is, because we might use those URLs for open graph images or something. But
so instead of overwriting this part of our snippet, you're saying it's better to move it out and then have control of that instead of messing with the snippet we're getting back from YouTube. We keep this
I wouldn't
clean.
necessarily say it's better. It's just easier to explain if we don't mess with there, because we're going to retype what image is, and we're going to come back to this type inference. So bear with me. The next step will hopefully clear it up. But if you can, Benedicte, just on the image node underneath URL, hit enter and give me a command space. And you see in there, there's not really anything image related. Like there's no reference to child image sharp. We can't use Gatsby image. There's nothing, right? So all we can really do is just, get some basic information about this. But what we're looking for is the key for child image sharp, which allows us to use the Gatsby image data. So that's what we need to give GraphQL a helping hand with. So let's get back to Gatsby node.
Yes. We are in Gatsby
probably
node.
Above source nodes, let's use another extension point, which will be exports.createSchema customization.
I mean, I will never be able to spell that.
SCHEMA. Customization spelled incorrectly with Z. CUSC.
I think I have it somewhere here that I can I can copy it from somewhere.
Can someone type into the chat create schema customization? Copy and paste. Here we go. How about this? There we go.
Oh, sorry. This is all. This is an important part of the show. Like, if you ever feel imposter syndrome, look at me trying to even spell. Okay.
Because it's an American, that's why.
Okay, so let's destructure some params. So the first
I like how you're keeping us on point, Paul.
The first one is going to be actions, and we'll destructure from actions, create types, and print type definitions. You want me to copy and paste that into the chat as well? There you go, print type definitions.
See, this is why I copy paste stuff, Paul. Okay?
Right.
This is why I'm just telling all the developers out there, copy pasting can also you're still a developer.
Highly encouraged.
You can still call yourself a developer if you need to copy paste stuff every now and then. Okay.
It's just like you have a bikini body if you just have a bikini in a body.
Now, in the function body, we're going to do a temporary measure so that I can discuss this type inference thing. And we're going to use a helper function, which is called print type definitions, which is a function.
This one?
Yep. And parentheses, object. And it's the key value pair, which is path. And the value is going to be a string of /, and let's call it types.txt. So what this is going to do, when Gatsby runs the build step, create schema customization extension point is going to kick in. We're going to print a file. We're going to write a file to disk, which is going to contain all of our GraphQL data types. Now, we know when we looked in GraphQL that the image URL was a string. So what we should see in those definitions is the same thing, but this is quite deep, and I don't know how much you're going to love looking at this, but let's run the build, and you should see a file pop up in the root.
Okay, so I have to run build or just develop?
Run the build because it's faster, because we're not using any browser stuff at the moment. And then we should see a file pop up in your file explorer in the root.
And I just feel like that's a place you could copy paste from if you ever needed to create your own types. Could I be right? No?
What do you mean?
Like, if I was going to create my own type, then I'm thinking I could probably copy paste something from this type.txt as like a base.
Yeah, it's a good reference point to see how the other types in the rest of your application look.
We are going to go overtime on this one. I am definitely.
We're nearly there.
Sure.
We're nearly there. We're nearly there. So have a look. See later. It is types.txt.
We haven't even had a break yet.
We haven't even had a break. There's like, it's good. It's good. Maybe you
Right.
don't have to do your story then, AK.
Let's
Okay.
carry on. Carry on.
Carry on.
Full speed.
Okay, so could I
So what
search for
we're
instance, search for YouTube,
specifically-
or
Yeah, we're specifically looking for our YouTube type. So it should be probably somewhere near the bottom.
so we created this one last time. That's nice. The title, description, and domain, they're all strings. So I want to search for just YouTube then. Didn't we call it YouTube like that?
It would just be there. It is.
There it is.
Yeah.
Is this a file you just created for yourself as a reference, or?
Yeah, so this is just so we can investigate the type. So this is what I was trying to explain. Like GraphQL has type inference. So for every data node that comes down the line, GraphQL will attempt to infer the type based on the data that it's received. And you can see in there on 403, there's our new node that we created. It has typed it to something called YouTube image. So if we try and find the type declaration for YouTube image,
It says
There
that
it is.
ID string and then URL, I guess, which is interesting.
A bunch of information.
Bunch of information.
Where did this file
There,
come from?
URL string, and what we
Yeah.
want somewhere in here, we wanted to say we want to have some kind of key that is an image.
well, we need to retype it. So we're going to tell GraphQL that the URL isn't a string, it's a file. So we're going to force it to ignore everything that it's doing by default because we know better. And we do know
They'll be
better.
like, so we'll be like, as the queen, I'm gonna tell you that this is an image, and you better treat it like an image.
Yeah.
Is that what we're
So-
doing?
Close that file.
Paul is like, yeah.
Well, it will make sense. Like close that file and delete it from disk.
No, I want it there in case. We're not
We
gonna
need to
check it in.
close that-
I just want it.
We need to close the file and delete it from disk. It will generate it again after we've done our next bit, but we'll get an error because it can't overwrite the file because it's node and doesn't work that way. Right.
Okay.
So above the print type definitions, we're now going to create types. So this is where we're going to say, we know best GraphQL, so listen to us. So this is a function.
Yeah.
And we're going to put all of our types inside backticks. And
What
let's
did you
create
say?
type in backticks.
We're gonna have backticks in here.
Yeah. And then
Oh, because
pop
we're
them down.
dealing with GraphQL, so everything
Yeah.
has to be these strings. Okay, cool.
Okay, and then pop me onto a new line. And we're going to say type. And our type that we're dealing with is YouTube, which is lowercase y, uppercase T. And this implements node. So it's going to infer all of the things that you would normally expect a node to have, all of the properties, which is kind of a Gatsby / GraphQL thing. It's capital N.
Okay.
And then new line.
2 seconds. I think I'm gonna need some cheats here. If I'm ever gonna get this correctly. I thought I had it already up, but okay. Implements node.
Yeah, so new line.
Mhm.
And then we're going to say image, which is our type. And if you remember
Okay.
from the type definitions, it was typed as YouTube image. So image : YouTube image, case T, uppercase I.
To image. Yeah, because we found that. So we still want it to be YouTube image, but now we're gonna do some magic, I hope.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yep.
The type YouTube implements node, there should be a curly bracket on line 15 after node. And that image should be inside the body.
But these things freak me out because they are like, I know if I just spend enough time with GraphQL, this is gonna make sense. But at the moment, having this it's like these long strings, it's just like really weirds me out. But that's why we're here learning from you, Paul.
Yeah, right. So now we're going to redefine the type, which is YouTube image type.
Mm-hmm.
And it's YouTube image. And then we're going to do a special QL helper, which is going to be at.
Okay.
Don't infer with a capital I for infer.
We're saying don't infer, we're gonna overrule.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then open, close curly brackets. And then URL, which is the key. and the value is going to be file with a capital F.
Okay, file.
Space at link.
How did you figure this out?
Because I'll come on. And then we're going to link it by URL, which is a key value pair, and URL is a string. So let's just quickly run back over this, right? We already have a type for YouTube. This is the type of data. We created the new image key. And when we ran that create type or that print type definitions, GraphQL inferred that the URL was a string. But because the string is an image, we know the image is not a string, it's a file. So we're going to tell GraphQL that it doesn't need to infer the type for YouTube image, and instead we'll tell it what type it is. So we're basically giving it a helping hand, and we're saying, don't worry about inferring the types, we'll tell you exactly what they are. And whether this is GraphQL or not, but static data typing in front end, you know, you're probably aware of it with TypeScript, but it, you know, it's existed in back-end languages for a long time, and it existed in ActionScript in 2006, I think. So this is very common depending in front-end development, depending on where you come from. I'm a million years old and I used to be an ActionScript developer. So this sort of stuff is not new to me. This is static data typing in front-end development. What else is new? But there are some difficult syntax things. GraphQL has got some difficult syntax.
It is a difficult. I must say that I find the graphical syntax really hard, but I know that in the past I've found other syntax really hard, and it's just like it's a matter of exposure. Like the more you're exposed to some kind of syntax, and by syntax, folks, we mean like how it looks, like how, like where's the curlies go and where does the colons go, and you know how the code kind of reads and looks, like not the logic behind it, but how you're actually writing it. That's what we mean by syntax. And it takes time to learn to like glance over new syntax and actually realize what it's saying.
It looks very similar to JavaScript, really. I mean, it's not hugely different.
This is better. There was at least some curlies in there that like grouped stuff, but when you do the graphical,
the at link and then round brackets by colon URL looks pretty suspicious to me if you say that it looks like JavaScript. I mean, yeah, we put string in quotes.
Well, I guess, you know, those colon key value pairs are a way to, like we've done, like we've done already in the types, and what like you would in TypeScript.
But it would, like, if it was like more Java, there would be, you know, there would be a curly around that as to give it like an object. Anyway, we're not gonna like discuss if it's pretty or not. Like what I've learned throughout my career is just like accept it, read it enough until you learn to read it, because you're not gonna be able to go back and be like, I want it to be curlies around here in this, in this. Then you have to get on the board of the people who decide these things. Yeah. Anyway.
All right. So let's run a build. Let's run a clean and run a build again. And we should, because we've still got the print type definitions there, it should create a new types.txt file for us. And then we can go and investigate what the type of the YouTube image URL is. I'm hoping if this works, it won't say string anymore.
Let's hope. And then maybe we can do develop and have a look-see in the graphical.
Yeah.
Oh boy. I've learned a lot, or I've understood that I need to learn more about images in Gatsby.
The thing is, a lot of this stuff, if you use Gatsby's plugin, and it's got a great ecosystem, a lot of those source plugins do this under the hood. Like they're all getting data from somewhere, pulling it into the disk and then processing it. But because we went sort of no starter, no plugin, we have to write all of this stuff ourselves. But that's cool. Like, you know,
I really like it. And we had somebody, I asked on Twitter what people found hard. And one of the things somebody said was writing custom source plugins from scratch, because there were so many like elements to it. Like now we're doing the source nodes, and then we're doing the onCreate node, and then we're doing the create schema customization. You have to hook in to quite a few events to get this to work, right?
Yeah. So find me the YouTube image.
Look at that.
There we go. So it's no longer got all of the stuff that it had before, and it doesn't think it's a string anymore, because we said don't infer. Don't you dare infer this type. We're going to tell you what you are, because we know
better. I'm your queen. Or mom. Mom's always knows best as well. Yeah.
Okay, so now let's run a develop. And let's have a look at graphical.
This is
And if this works, I'm going to be very, very happy.
And people are following along, Paul. There are like people have not left.
Julian knows that you're building or running some tests or something. We have,
I mean, this is the moment of truth. If it works, we've done a good job. So what we're going to be looking for with our command space option, benedict, is we should see in graphical that we're now able to query using child image sharp. You might need to give it the page a refresh if the developers run.
I don't think it's done yet.
There we go. So we should, I think you might need curlies on it. And then new line, we should see in there child image sharp.
Ula, mute yourself.
There
it is.
Yeah.
And then give me some curlies on it, and then underneath ID.
No, look at that. Can't read property type. Oh, sorry, because I was being stupid. Okay, I was being too quick.
Get rid of the ID.
Yeah.
And see and give me a command base on that. We should see Gatsby. Get rid of the ID. Gatsby image data, yeah. Now prettier and run.
Yeah, but we are getting something here. Cannot read type of undefined.
Undefined. Okay, so we have got an issue. All right, let's go back over our code then.
You guys take a break.
You take a break.
You take a break and we'll look at our code.
And this time, now we start at 46, and we're going to have the break for 10 minutes. Is that too much, maybe?
That's too much. 5 minutes.
5 minutes, so that's until 51.50. All right, AK, are you ready?
Oh my God, no, I'm not.
I will do my story
I
first.
need to do my washing.
No. I'll do my story first because I have 2 stories. So we will sandwich you together. I will do one story, and then you will come between, and then I will do the other story. All right? Yeah. Okay. So the first story is, I just DM'd with a guy, you maybe heard of him, Jason Lengstorff. Yeah, he's coming on the show, and he's going to be a guest just like you, AK.
Wow.
Was that the fake story or was that the real story?
No, they're both real. On May 28th, he's coming. He's coming. Yeah. That's the first story. And I'll drink to that. Cheers.
Cheers. I need to open.
Yes, you can open. I'll take a drink.
Yeah, I'll open my beer. Abigail's finest.
I got 2, so I can drink with the other one. Are you ready?
Wait. Oh, that's a pretty flower.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Make a private chat so we can debug.
So what have you been doing this week, AK? Or something?
Learning.
Yes!
Yeah, learning a lot. My head didn't explode, though.
Yeah.
I would not be able to help with this, though.
Yes.
Although, actually, let's have a look. So what's the problem?
You're not getting out of it, AK. Talk to Ola now. You're on break duty.
I don't know how this works.
Yeah, that's true. It's not easy.
I know, life ain't easy. So, do you want to hear about my week?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I've been working all week.
That's great.
Learning a lot. Yeah, and getting comfortable with still not knowing stuff. I think that's my biggest learning. And just making loads of typos, like I think my team still has some patience for me making, but I'm a bad typer, right? But I'm not as bad when I'm typing as when I am when I'm typing and streaming at the same time.
Yeah.
There's just something to it.
Yeah. So
But are you worse than me though, AK? Like that's a benchmark.
Really, honestly. Did I tell you when I misspelled product and I've made 2 mistakes? It's how many? 7 letters? I made 2 mistakes. No letter.
I could do that. Like I've done that.
Like, yeah, what was it? I don't know. I just replaced words with random words.
But you're coding, live coding with your colleagues there at The Economist?
Yeah. Well, I'm not doing a lot of coding, but I try. Mainly look at code and copy and paste, and get confused and ask questions.
But you're not doing it live with them. Are you doing it live?
No. But I have to be live because everyone's like remote.
So you are live coding with them.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
Coding is a very generous term, but I'm live working with them.
Okay, good.
Yeah. We're looking. Found a bug. I fixed the bug today.
Yes.
I feel like the bug was like implanted so that I could fix it. But yeah, I fixed the bug.
And for those who don't know, AK got her first dev job at The Economist, so that is super cool. And we have found our bug, which wasn't a bug. So when you're done with your next story, Ola, we can jump straight back in.
I have one more question first, AK. So, what was the bug?
The bug. It would be difficult for me to explain without explaining to you what we're trying to do. So yeah, it was basically we were just retrieving the wrong information from the database. So we just needed to sort it before we retrieve it, so that we could just skim from the top and get it.
It's kind of what we're doing here. You're retrieving wrong information from the database.
Of course. Yes.
So did you use Paul's trick and just forcing,
Yes, because I can travel in time. And I watch this stream, and I'll way back in time and fix my bug.
Yeah.
So
I'm building a time machine. You know that, right?
I think you mentioned actually.
Yeah. It's not done yet. Okay, so you guys want to hear my story?
If it's short.
It's short. So you see here. My T-shirt is missing. It's because it's there. Do you see there's something down there?
Yeah.
Here. I'm going to make the G for gangster. Sorry about moving my head the wrong way. Damn, it's mirrored. I'm going to make it the G in gold coins. Like this. Like this. Together with Lillian, we're going to glue it on the T-shirt and hang it up here like a pirate flag. Yeah. That was the story. That's it.
That is cool. So it had just, back to our thing, then I'm going to share my screen again. Oh, big me. Everybody else is gone.
Hey!
There we go. We just needed to reload the browser and reload the query. So here we are, and we are actually seeing some inline data even here. Like this is, so for the people who haven't seen this before, this is actually a description of an image that you could like paste into, I think even the source, right? Of like image source.
Basic before URLs, yeah.
Yeah, and then it will show you an image. It's actually describing a full like PNG or JPEG. Like this is a JPEG image. I was at least very amazed when I saw that the first time that like that will actually give you a picture. It looks like a string, but it's a string representation of an image. Okay.
So yeah, now I think the main difference here, if you remember before, we had URL that was a string. Now URL, because we've typed it as a file, and because the file exists on disk, child image sharp or sharp, which is what Gatsby uses under the hood, can be used to process the image, and it accepts a Gatsby image data, which will prepare us an object for all the different types of images that we're going to pass on to the Gatsby image component, so that you can see that there's a fallback, there's the JPEG version, there's a WebP version, there's different sizes, they come breakpoints enabled. It's a big bunch of data, but it's what Gatsby image expects. So we can now pass this on to Gatsby image.
But if I removed this or these plugins, then none of this would happen, right?
True. Yeah. So I
So-
guess plugin Sharp is what's kind of doing a lot of the heavy lifting, but Transformer Sharp is what takes the file node and allows us to process it with the plugin, which applies the defaults. And then Gatsby plugin image is basically the JSX that renders a data shape similar to what we've just seen in graphical.
So the one we haven't used yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to do now. So let's re-render our list. So give me index.js.
Index. I got it.
Let's start with our imports at the top.
Imports.
And we're going to import Gatsby image. So these are all named imports. It's a Gatsby image. And we're going to use the get image helper.
Get image. Is it called get image or get image helper?
Yeah,
From
sorry,
Gatsby image.
And that comes from Gatsby plugin image. That's a good point. Key difference. The old image plugin was called Gatsby image. The new plugin is called Gatsby plugin image. Then we're going to amend our GraphQL query.
Yep.
So underneath the slug.
Yep.
We can either type this or you can copy it from graphical. It's entirely up to you. Probably copy it from graphical.
Is that even a question?
Yeah, good point.
Like that, right?
Yeah, and we're going to apply a couple of things. So Gatsby image data.
Yeah.
Let's make it a function.
In here? Can we just make that a function?
Yep.
Okay.
And then let's put a width. And let's give that 180. And then no comma, but a space of height.
I mean, this is what we're talking about. Like, this does not look like JavaScript. Okay, height. And you need to double check my height, because this is my earliest bug, is when I had written height wrong, or like in two different places in two different ways. And it took me 3 days to debug when I was 16.
Okay. H-E-I-G-H-T.
Are we good?
100.
Okay.
Now scroll down to where we had just an HTML image tag in the return.
Oh, in our code. Okay, here.
Yeah. So we're going to replace image with Gatsby image.
Did we just have both for a little while? That's
yeah,
nice.
you can do if you want.
Yeah.
So the alt will be the same.
Let's copy paste. Yep.
And we're going to give it another prop, which is called image. And that is going to be get image, which is a helper function that we also imported. And we're going to pass into that video .image.url. So remember, this was the new type that we created. So that's going to be all of that massive amount of stuff that we saw.
And it's not video, it's video. So now we should be seeing the images twice.
Yes. Come on.
Okay,
please.
I am very
Great. There we go. Did you see that quickly, that it started blurred and then it kind of like created itself?
Let's do it again, but maybe it doesn't blur anymore. Yes, it does. Ooh.
Yeah, so this is sort of politely loading those images.
Ooh. Okay. So then we can get rid of the other one. And a nice thing here, we were talking about why we moved instead of just like changing the thumbnail path that we got in the snippet from YouTube. We made like our own image key on our node this is also a reason because our old functionality can still work while we're working on our new functionality, right, Paul? So like they still work. And because when we go in here, we still need that old one because we haven't changed it yet. So that's also a good way to think when you're creating and working with code is, can I do it so that I don't break everything in case I don't get done with everything in one session or one go?
The other advantage as well, if you remember, we told GraphQL to don't infer, and that's because we know best. But if we're going to truly say we know best and we hadn't created that new image key, we would have had to have typed all the other objects and keys, which I didn't want to do because this has taken quite a long time. So that's basically it, I think, right? We've now managed to source the URL. We've created it as a remote file node, retyped it to a file so that child image sharp can run, and we can pass the image data back onto Gatsby Image so that it's now a proper performance image, not just a dumb HTML image.
Whoa, wow. But let's do it here as well, just for completeness. Or is that too much? Are we done?
Yeah, I mean, you can do it. Yeah, just add it to the query, I think. It'll be the same query from the underneath. You'll have to add it in the page query.
Yeah.
In the graph.
Where is my index? We need to get the image.
Yeah, we might just need to change the widths and heights.
Yeah. So not in the snippet, but above snippet, we're getting the image. And then we need to import everything that we imported here. Look at how fast I am at coding when I can copy paste.
And I think the destructured prop from that might get a bit. What would it be? The destructured thing? Would it be image and then URL? You might have to do a log on that. I'm not sure what we're going to be able to.
Oh yeah, this would be image here, I guess, because it was just above snippet, and then I can use. This should be then.
Just title, I think, isn't it?
Snippet. Because we've destructured it, we were good.
Yeah.
And then this will then be just image URL if I don't destructure it anymore. Should that be working then?
I think that'll work.
Yeah, there it is.
All right.
Little tiny photo. Little tiny photo. So let's remove the old image. And then we would want maybe like.
Well,
8.
so yeah, so that I don't know if you noticed, I managed to get rid of the black lines by.
I did notice. I did notice
the aspect ratio back to 16:9. So if you want a bigger one, I can give you some dimensions for a 16:9 aspect ratio that might work better for us.
This is a great dimension.
Are you setting dimensions in pixels right now?
I think we're giving it like the max we would like to have back, and then Gatsby Image will like fix the different sizes for us. So what would be a good? It's like, what do I upload?
Try 400 by 225.
Yeah, but I think what I upload to YouTube though is 1024 by something.
Yeah, so that should be a 16:9 aspect ratio.
Oh,
okay,
this wasn't
not quite right, but well, we can play around with that if you want. But
I think you said 255 instead of 225.
Oh, what did I say? 450 by.
You said 225, but I think Benedict typed 255.
What? I typed wrong. I never typed wrong.
Right, 450 by 2.
You know what? I'm just going to look at the original photo. It's one. I got it here. The original photo, because I'm the one who uploads these photos, so I have them here.
It should be 450, I think, not 400. That might be why.
720. What am I doing?
What? 1280 by 720. That's what you want to put in.
I can't even do that. Okay, 720. Okay, that should be, because that's the biggest the image can be anyway. Like that is the biggest, that's the resolutions I've uploaded. So I think that's going to be a good one to have. Why is it so bad though? Are we not getting the highest resolution back from YouTube?
Well, we're getting 70%. So we set the defaults in Gatsby config to be 70%.
Oh, we don't want that. I want 100.
So we can set it to 90 if you want. You have to restart the server and run it again.
But why can't I set it to 100?
Well, you can either set it there as a quality or you can set all the defaults.
I think we're going to set it to 100 because YouTube already does a lot of optimization. So let's keep it at 100. Is that okay?
Yeah, if you want.
Because I know I've seen that YouTube like message with my image. Sounds super convincing. It's restarting.
I think where would you set the quality? It's going to have to go in the Gatsby image data, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, so we could set the quality when we're getting it in the GraphQL query instead of setting it as a default. Is that what you're
it should overwrite. So in the Gatsby image data in the GraphQL query in that component.
Like if this is working, I think that's enough for today. Because if I go back to that GraphQL query, it will get messed up and we won't be able to push anything. Aren't we doing like a cleanup session next week? We can do some stuff.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. That was a big one. I'm glad it worked.
It was so intense.
Oh, this is as good as it gets, I guess.
I mean, I guess the thumbnails are going to be optimized after you upload them to YouTube anyway. Don't forget, when we pull them down, they're going to be optimized.
Yeah.
So, but, you know.
I think we need to, at some point, because we see we don't have the full description and like we need to be a little bit and more investigative into what YouTube is actually giving us back and what we should be using.
We have a question from that.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
No, it's a question from the chat. Can you not set your one dimension H or W, so height and width? And then Gatsby image data takes care of the built-in aspect ratio of the source image.
I don't know. Can you, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of what we're doing, right? We're giving it a width and a height. No,
but he's saying, like, could we just do a width and then it will infer the height?
Try then.
Well, yeah, but the problem is even though you upload the images without the black bars, YouTube returns them with black bars. And so its aspect ratio is 4.3. And so we're cheating it by telling it, again, like we know best, we'll give it a 69 aspect ratio, which means the black bars don't render.
So you are correct, John. If the images you're getting back is not being messed up by YouTube, who has decided that the thumbnail images are uploaded in like cinema kind of perspective, but that aspect ratio, but then they give you back television.
Yeah,
aspect ratio
for free. For no reason.
So because of that, we are then saying we want a specific width and height that gives us a specific aspect ratio, and doing it that way, it actually cuts out that black for us, and we get like the thumbnail that I actually uploaded.
I mean, there is another cool thing we can do. I don't think we've got time, but Gatsby plugin image Gatsby data also allows us to apply some transform options. It's in the docs, but we could actually crop the image at source time so that the black bars aren't even there. But I don't think we've got time for that now. Anyway.
I think we are gonna be able to have many image magic shows because there is so much that you can do with these.
The plugin image is awesome. It really is. Like, have a look at the docs. Like, there's so much you can do with it, and it's so much better than just putting a URL in an image tag in HTML. Like, so much better. And so it's worth doing this extra legwork to kind of retype it as a file and all of the rest of it. Like, it's hard work, I know, but it is worth it.
Yeah, so my John is asking, what's television? And for our intern Lillian, who's 6, this is television. Mom and Dad is making television every Friday. So
just to be clear, Ula's dad. I'm not dad.
That is, yes. Ula and I are mom and dad for the intern. So let's do some commits here and make it build. And we will do some chit chat while it builds and all of that, and keep asking questions in the chat. And after I've committed, we can mess up the code. So if anybody wants us to like try something like John asked that question, like yes, and we can see what happens if there's any things that you would like. Oh, so yeah, we have a great question. So if we inspect this, I think that's what he was asking. So before, earlier on the stream, I took it away now though, but we saw it was just like one image tag, and we put in the source URL. But now Gatsby Image is like giving us all of, I guess, this stuff, data Gatsby image wrapper. So it's giving us some classes, it's giving us the image, but what it's also giving that Paul alluded to earlier is this like different, it's giving us different versions of this image, and then the browser is smart enough to know which image it actually wants to display. Was I saying that right, Paul? Paul is gone.
He's gone.
Okay. He's gone.
Yeah. So you can adjust for different devices, but I think you can also do lazy loading. Yeah. Lazy loading.
Yes, because I think
just don't make it blank.
Yeah, we've said that it's going to blur up, so it's got that like blurriness. So what it does first is that it loads a tiny image. I think it's like 1 pixel by 1 pixel. They made the image tiny, and then they just blow that up into the same size as the image we want to be there. And when everything else is loaded, it loads in the image, and that is called lazy loading. We wait until everything else is there, and then it loads in the real image so that we don't get like a white space, or which is often happening with websites, is that when the image comes, everything shifts around. So that one like inlined, blurry 1 by 1 pixel, I don't know how big they make it, but they make like a tiny image that is then loaded in there really quickly. I might have said many things wrong now, Paul. So, but we were looking at how it actually looks inside of the HTML.
Yeah. Yeah, you should have all the picture tags and all the smart next level like browser image stuff, but it also falls back to your standard image tag as well. So if and then I guess this is the placeholder image. So this is the one that I was talking about, that is maybe just like one or like a couple of pixels big. Yeah, if you hover over the URL in the source, it might give you a preview in DevTools. So it's 20 by 11 is what it loads initially.
And then it blows it up into the size that the real image is going to come and take over, which is like a nice technique for making people feel like, something is happening. I can see the image, and then the real image comes in instead of there being a blank space or like nothing, and then the image comes in and what you're trying to read gets pushed down the page, right? We've all been there.
I'm just looking over some of your cheeky comments, AK, in the chat there. I don't really look at this when because I've got my super cool setup, which is one tiny 13-inch screen. What's this? I'm totally making this up. You absolute son of a gun.
It did sound like you were making it up.
I was worried about this one, to be honest, because I understand this to a point. I get a little bit lost in some of the GraphQL stuff. I've got to be honest. So I can't maybe answer all of these questions, but I think the main takeaway from this should be that like we have overwritten what GraphQL thinks a data type should be, and we forced it to be another data type so that we can run a transform. That's the main takeaway, I would say.
And also that we're actually taking the images from the YouTube box and putting it into
that great gag.
GraphQL box. But why that's so important is because then we're giving Gatsby the power over the image, and it can do all of that nice stuff for us so that our page loads faster, and we have those placeholder images and all of that good stuff. And it can also cache our images both like during the build, but also, I guess on our browser, but mostly during the build. So I think if you haven't done this and you try to do a lot of like work with images, then you can get into trouble when you're trying to make a Gatsby site and you don't take advantage of the goodness of the Gatsby image plugin. That's what I was trying to say. I'm trying to do two things at once. I'm going to shut up. You people talk, and I'm going to go and check to see if we can get our code to run on Gatsby Cloud. So what I need to do is make a pull request.
Were there any other questions? Did anyone have any other things? I'll do my best to answer them. Like I said, I've got. Go on, then, Ola. What you got?
Yeah. Okay, Paul. So what have you been doing this week?
What have I been doing this week? I have actually returned part-time to my old contract, building a complex React application that no one cares about, which I absolutely love. And I'm working on a really cool blog post for conditional plugin injection. So keep an eye out for that. And this basically comes down to the fact that you will often hear people whinging on Twitter about Gatsby sites being slow to build. And as we've talked about before, if you try and load 1,000 images or 1,000,000 images, or you try and get your Gatsby build process to build 1,000,000 things, of course it's going to be slow. Is that Gatsby's fault? Or is that just the way you've architected it? So this injection plugin, this conditional injection plugin, will allow you to build your site conditionally, depending on which part of it you're developing at a particular time. So I'm not sure if it's necessarily a good idea, but I found it quite an interesting process because it's a bit of a hack on Gatsby config. So stay tuned for that.
Ooh. Yeah, because what we will probably do some talks about how to, or a show on how to get builds to run faster and stuff like that. But, you know, with Gatsby, you create all of the pages ahead of time. So if you have 1,000,000 pages, it's going to take some time. That's just like, that's how it is. But on the upside, you know, you got the full cache of the whole site there. And then people arrive at your site, it's like ready instantly. And that is important for some projects, and for other projects, you know, that's not what you need. So you gotta, you know your tools, right?
Yeah, I think that's it. Like, there's only so much Gatsby can help you with, but if you are gonna, like I said, if you're gonna source 1,000,000 images, like, that's not Gatsby's fault that the build's slow. That's just your CPU and Node not being able to process it fast enough. So, like, you know, maybe you need to think about what it is that your build step is doing, and what Babel's doing, and what Webpack's doing, or what remote file nodes that you're sourcing before you take to Twitter and start whinging about Gatsby build speeds. Because I've said this before, it's probably not Gatsby. It probably never is Gatsby. It's not Gatsby's fault. It's just because you built it badly. You're on mute, Benedict.
You're such a Gatsby fan, though.
I'm not a Gatsby fan. I'm just an advocate for good development. And if you blame someone, like, where does that get you? Like, if you understand what you're doing, which is what we're trying to do in the deep dives, it's like, understand what goes into these things rather than just like installing node modules and hoping for the best. Like, we're trying to unearth what actually goes into these things, so you understand it when the problems arise, which they will, you know.
We are having
like 8
build
plugins.
problems.
Talking about the sun, as we say in Norway.
Oh, we forgot to remove the txt.
You can comment that out or just delete it from Gatsby Node.
Oh, we have a comment. It's about the building.
Oh, it's Meltwater. Ahoy,
Yeah.
Meltwater. Good to see ya.
Oh, I like that comment. We are gonna, so I have told Paul that at some point I want a big flashing "We Are Live" thing on the front page of our Nattermob.dev site. And then we will tackle like a version of what you're saying, but you're saying for like more data, but at least it will show you how you can fetch data like in your browser after you've done all the statically rendered stuff. You then show that in the browser, but then you can sprinkle in dynamic data that you fetch when people are visiting your site. So that's going to come up because I really want it. I want it to be like super flashy.
If we make it super flashy, can we also listen for preferences for people who get a little bit nauseous from things that are really flashy? And perhaps
Yes.
Ooh, we
Yes, we can.
Reduced motion in, can't we?
please.
Yeah, we could do that.
Well, I think one thing we also need to think about as well, like, you know, I like that comment, Melwar. It's good. Like, you can obviously in Gatsby, because it's React, do all the things that you would normally do with React. So, you know, runtime fetch data requests as equally as possible. But one of the things I think we need to look at some point is a web build hook. Now, you can pay for YouTube API so that anytime Benedict decides to change the titles, which happens quite a lot, it would trigger a rebuild in Gatsby Cloud, but that's the paid for service. I think the cheap way to do it would be maybe a GitHub action that just runs maybe every 24 hours and just rebuilds the site.
We all know I change these titles. Like we need every hour, or maybe
Fine,
like
okay, we can do
every
it
3 hours.
So that might be another way round. I guess it's a common problem that plagues static sites, isn't it? It's like, how do you ensure that the data is always fresh?
Yeah.
And that's obviously quite difficult when you're connected via the content mesh to a number of sources.
Yeah.
A lot of the webhooks do trigger, but like I said, for that to work with the YouTube API, we need to pay for that service. But I think we can work around it with a just a timed, almost a bit like a cron job would run, like a timed job that would run every hour. It will ping Gatsby Cloud, which will trigger a rebuild, which will trigger a fresh request from YouTube, pull the latest data, and then rebuild the static site with the latest titles. So that's something we could maybe think about. We are still planning, or partly planning, the mega theme fest, where we're going to try and create a design system, but we need some design. So actually, if anyone knows or wants to get involved with the design phase, because quite frankly, I can't be asked, but if we need a design. Someone needs to do some design for
I
this.
thought Lillian was going to do the design, the intern.
Yeah, but I mean, we still need to, lay out the page and decide,
Yeah.
I really like this comment by John, where he says that he has run a great site off of Google Docs. And I really like those kind of things that you can do with Gatsby, because if, for instance, if you're making something for non-technical users, if they could still, like, if they can just write in Google Docs like they already do, then that is a great place to source data from, instead of them writing it in Google Docs and then copy pasting it into some other location, and then like that's the data that comes on the site. So I really like that. I've seen people make really good sites off of Google Sheets as well. If you have a lot of like data intensive content, that is also like a great way to do it.
I'd also like to, at some point, try and get Gatsby functions in, so serverless Lambda functions. What we could do, and that's a really good idea, John, like using data sources for a CMS that aren't supposed to be used as a CMS. So I've experimented with this in the past, and it exists on my blog, paulie.dev, where I use the Twitter API to pull my profile information into my blog. What we could do for your Live Now banner, benedict, is write a Gatsby function that will pull your latest tweet. And if your tweet contains the words "We're live," the site would display the "We're live" banner. Maybe we have to think about how to do that. But that's another way we could drive actual real-time data on a statically generated site by using runtime API requests and the Twitter API as a CMS, even though Twitter isn't a CMS. That's deep. But I'm going to probably bore everyone to death. So why don't we just do?
No. John is liking this. He built it using from Sheets. He built Google Docs from Sheets app scripts and created docs. So cool. I see that we have a bug that we might have to figure out, which is something to do with YouTube and how they add their black borders, or something with gets, or I don't know. But we are getting black borders on all of the past streams, but not on the upcoming stream, which is the next one.
We can, if you want, we can quickly add the transform options in for the thumbnails. I will put it in the private chat, Benedict, to save you typing it all out.
Okay,
people are still here. We're half an hour overtime, and it's good. Like
I'd like to say something about the. So, I agree with John. And I think that's what they should do. The haters, the static fighters, use the tool wrong. They should go home and then build something on. From Google Sheets, and just do it on their own without the pressure of, the whole work thing, and just learn how to work the tools properly, and the Gatsby tools like this, thumbnails. If you have a hammer and a nail, you can nail your finger, and that's what they do. But if you practice at home with a hammer, maybe you don't nail your finger. So I think that's what we.
Where is it? Where is it for, Paul? Is it for the
in the index.js page? GraphQL.
when you say that they should go home and something about pressure of working and stuff, I hope no one's ever going to take a snippet of this and use it against you.
I mean, I raised that with our good friend Gabby once, and she made a good point, which was, not everyone necessarily has the time after work to do these things, family commitments, etc. My argument to that was like, and this might be a little bit contentious, but a good company would give you development time. They would give you 10% of your week to kind of develop skills in areas that maybe aren't necessarily directly related to what you're working on. But the good places I've worked will often give you some time to develop your own skills. And I don't know, again, you might not have the choice if you need a job and the company doesn't offer you that, what you're supposed to do. But
that solved the problem, Paul. So what we did now is that instead of letting Gatsby decide how to crop it, we have added crop focus center so that it actually crops from the center. And then it fits as cover, like it zooms it out and tries to fit as much as it can, and then it crops from the center. And that seemed to work, so I added that to both the index and to the page. And then we fix crop. And then we'll push that as well. And we're done.
That was a big one. I can't believe we've actually gone 25 minutes over time. That's mental. Is anyone even still watching?
There are tons of comments.
We've got John, and John says he's 63, and I hope I'm okay to say this out loud. And taught himself all this in the last couple of years.
Oh, good on you, mate. Good on you.
Love it.
I like you, John.
Yeah, I like that because it's always like it's this thing. It's like, oh, is it too late? Like I've seen people who are like 26 and they're like, is it too learn to code? And it's like, no, it's not.
Yeah, I think like, the kids in school learning to code, and it's like, oh my god, because there's always like a kid somewhere in the world who's 5 and is better than adulting than you are.
Yeah,
it's like. So there is this pressure. There's a little bit of too late for her.
But I also think that the person who does that, like, if you have been coding all your like childhood and then like professionally for a couple of years, I see a lot of them transitioning out of coding. They become managers, or they do other things, and then people who change into coding then codes like later in their, and they stay with the coding later in their career. And I think we need all of that, the mix of people coming in as career transitioners and the people coming through the regular system, and like getting that mix, I think is what's going to give us the good tech that we need.
Yeah, I think there's something to say about loads of senior developers just becoming stale, and also like in our little sort of JavaScript ladies group, we all have now, all of us, I was the last one to the party, we all have like dev jobs. None of us actually do the same thing every day, so there's just so many different iterations of what a developer does, and everyone can find a niche, I think.
Absolutely.
Whether or not it's professionally, I say that now, but I've been like 2 months ago, I was like, I'll never get a job. Why am I here? No, but it's true. It's just like, just need to persist. And do you enjoy?
Yes.
I'm pretty happy because The Economist is really empowering when it comes to sort of like self-development and stuff. So we're all regarded as full stack engineers, and we can literally learn whatever we want and then become good at that. So there isn't a requirement. Obviously, I need to learn the tech that I'm going to be working with. But there's a lot of liberty when it comes to, like designing new stuff and going to trying new technologies and learning what you want.
Suddenly it's failing. Like, this is why we shouldn't fix things at the end.
Okay, I'll say something then while you work on it. I'll put us on the big thing. You work in secret.
Well, well, chat can let us know though, because I thought that maybe they'd like to see me like fix things while you talk, but that the chat can let you know.
No, you can't do that, because now we're going to do our plugs. We totally forgot them. We're supposed to do it in the break, but we'll do it now. All right, I'll go first then, I guess. Won't I? Oh, that's no good. How can I get my screen on? I'm no good at this. What do I click again to see my own screen?
Share.
You need to share your screen, and then we have to remove my screen from the stream.
I share my screen.
In the chat.
I'm
I bet Paul's like got another device underneath.
okay, I just shared my screen. Does that mean that I'm here? No. There? No.
Try again.
Share screen.
Yeah,
Stop
I see
screen.
it,
No.
and then you have to add to stream. I've added it now, Ulla.
Yeah,
There you go.
thank you. Okay.
Whoa.
Yeah, this is it. This is my plug here. So I'm making this book with Lillian. It doesn't look like this anymore because we redid it. It's more like this. It's for coloring. So people are supposed to put in their own colors like that. And I'm sending it out by email. So people, put in your name here, Ola, and then your email here, Ola, and subscribe. And then that looks like I'm using ConvertKit, but I'm not. I'm sending it out with manual emails. And sorry about that. Can I do something to get that away? Yeah. And it was John here who reminded me. I'm 63 and I taught myself all this the last couple of years. Yes. And that's what I want people to do with my email and with Lillian. I want them to learn this by drawing on paper and coloring and stuff. Yeah. So yeah, that's my plug. Who's next?
I have a very small plug, and it's for good friend Scott Spence. I'm going to put a link to his latest blog post, which he has written for Graph CMS. So that goes in now, which is data binding in Svelte. I've just put a link in the chat.
The private chat? No.
In YouTube.
That never works. You need to
It doesn't work.
You need to put it in a private chat, and I'll put it up here on the screen.
Oh, okay.
It's YouTube.
There.
Yeah. There you go.
YouTube removes it.
YouTube don't like plugs. All right. Oh, I need to share my screen again. Will I be able to do it? We'll see. Hello. No. Yes. It's right. Here it is. Look at that. It's Scott. Tiny little Scott. Do you see Scott there? Data binding in Svelte. You see his little head, and then he's writing down here, passing props down to a child. And that's very nice. Give your children props. Giving it back to the parent. Yeah, very good. Oh yeah, this is great stuff, Scott. Conclusion. Yes. All right. So who's next?
Now I'm big again. I'm like scratching my nose when I'm on the biggest.
That's cool. Okay, who's next, AK? I don't know, but maybe it's you.
To be honest, I don't really have my own plug, but I'm just totally spying on John, because he said he's a full-time artist. And I'm just really enjoying the website. So if you go to johnhansenartist.com, you can check out his work.
John Hansen Artist. I think I have it right. We'll see what happens here.
Yeah.
No.
Sorry, totally spying on me.
What am I doing wrong? The H is in the wrong place, I guess.
I need to bring a story next time. I'm so sorry.
I'm putting. I put an H in the wrong place. Damn.
Check the private chat, Ulla, and AK has put it there.
No. I'm good. Okay. I'll share the screen now. Like that. Yes. Here we go. John Hansen.
You can go to artwork.
Artwork.
Top menu, yeah. There you go.
Oh yeah.
What's in there as well? I always get stuff.
Oh, but now I'm big again, Ulla. Like you have to choose the one with the little people.
Did he make it right?
No, go back to his site. Yeah, there you go.
I can't see what I'm doing when I'm on the site. Look at this.
You're scrolling. I'm really impressed, genuinely.
Yes. Okay, let's look at this. Boy with a CD. Oh, come on. Come on.
Are you going to be testing the website now? This is so stressful. Oh, look at this transition. Awesome.
Look what he has there. He's holding a CD.
Yeah, we are all jealous of this nice site.
This is cool.
Yeah. So, you need someone to design a website.
Has
Yeah.
is there anyone else in the chat that wants to like make a plug? I mean,
Yes.
Meltwater is whoever you are.
Well,
like,
you are
a fan. Is there anything you want to say? Like, we enjoy
Well,
having
also,
you here.
You have to prove
This is
to us that you are
Yeah.
not Polly typing from underneath the table or wherever the heck it is. Reveal yourself.
Okay, but I can let you all know that I found an error in the code, in the
Great.
code.
Yes.
So we had an error, or I had an error where I had spelled formats without an S. So there, like Gatsby was failing on that every now and then. So I think that was a little bit of the problem. I fixed that. I pushed that, and it's now built. We got it here. It's working. I obviously overrided the size here. So got to fix that again. And then we are good to go. This is like, I shouldn't be doing these things at the end, but that's what we do.
You love it. You
Well,
love
it's
derailing
been a
me,
long
don't you,
and
with your
intense
new
trip.
ideas, Benedict.
Boo, boo, boo. What did we say? 1280 by 720, right?
Yeah.
That's in the correct place. Correct aspect. Well, we are just chit-chatting now. Like everybody is hanging out. I really enjoy hanging out with the chat.
Have you had your jobs, guys?
Yeah, I had mine.
Well, we are a long way, so.
I've had my first one anyway. Second one's in July, but the first one made me feel a bit peaky for a couple of days, but I think I got away lightly, to be fair.
So it's building again. So I can do my plug, same as always. Check out this beautiful page I've made in Squarespace for my app that I created using Gatsby. It is a privacy-first menstrual cycle journal for the people who would like to not have Facebook spy on their periods and other information you give those kinds of apps. So that's it.
Pow, pow, pow.
Pow, pow, pow. Pow, pow, pow. It's failed. I don't know. Like now I'm giving up. Now it's just like it's teasing me.
Yeah.
No, it's working. Okay. It's working. No, it's working. It's not working.
Yes.
It's like I don't know. I can't, like, now we need to stop because I'm just messing everything up now.
Isn't it working now? It failed again. Oh no!
And Paul has triggered the manual build of the main branch, not this branch. We're giving it up here. We had it working. We'll show it all to you next time. And Paul is just leaves. He
That's
just
okay.
leaves.
That's
when there's,
fine.
like, problems.
He can do that. Don't worry.
Sorry, I needed a wee.
Yeah, sure.
And now
It's like failing again. Now it's like failing all over the place. What did I do wrong now?
Is that the velour you're putting on?
No, not the velour. Does it build locally, Benedicte? What's the problem?
It's something with the cache, and I don't know how to clear the cache for this specific pull request.
Go back to the site overview.
Yeah.
And see in the top right-hand corner, trigger rebuild on the button on the drop down.
That's just for main. That's just for main.
Oh,
I need to do it. I need to do it for this one.
Oh, good point. I see what you mean.
Is that the incremental builds everybody's bragging about?
Just merge it in. We'll worry about that later. Just merge it in.
Well, let's see if it works and develop. And then now, if people aren't leaving now, I don't know what.
People just walked away, forgot they were even watching.
So is the intern sleepy?
The intern is sleeping behind me on the couch. Yes, she is.
Very good.
Who else have we got in the chat? I never pay attention. What? Any good comments? What's happening?
We had so much fun in the chat.
Without you, Paul. You missed it.
I know I always miss it because I never look at this.
You're focused, right?
You should look at it now.
I am looking at it now.
Yeah.
I do love the fact that, like, you know,
It's working.
People out there, like, you show up each week. We try our best to make this entertaining and educational. We sometimes fail, but I do like the fact that, you know, we got a few folks that repeatedly come back, and you know, I like it.
Just go to the toilet to post that one.
I mean, they claim to turn up quite regularly.
No,
and
also
we
if you do
thought it
exist,
would be
I
on
do
three.
apologize, but this is just too good of a joke to not keep repeating it.
Okay, we are just going to YOLO merge it, Paul. We're gonna do it.
Go nuclear. Why not?
I mean, it's not going to deploy if it's not working, right?
Yeah, but we might be able to clear the cache on the main branch, which might fix it.
Yeah.
So
And then we
what's
have
the-
to figure
So
out
what's
why
the-
it's failing. Sorry.
So what's the difference between this and incremental builds? What we're not getting here and incremental builds?
Well, we will get incremental builds, but I think what's going to happen, because we've messed with the Gatsby node, we've sort of changed the shape of the data, and therefore we need to clear the cache. And I think Benedict is having problems clearing the cache in Gatsby Cloud on the preview branch, because the trigger rebuild button in Gatsby Cloud, when it clears the cache, I think only applies to the main branch. And so we're going to have this clash between the new GraphQL types that we created in the preview and the ones that were existing in the cache. Maybe it's either that or something's gone wrong, but it builds locally, right, Benedicte? Like, if you run a build locally, it works. You're on mute, I think.
Yep.
So yeah, it could be that. It could be something entirely different, but
All right.
debugging live on stream, that's fun. I'm sure that's going to be fun for everyone to watch.
But
Okay.
yeah.
So John is asking if we're going to do functions, and we are definitely going to do functions at some point.
Yeah, the Gatsby functions. I've tried to play with them.
And so, if John, outside of a live stream, if John or anyone like John would want to pose any suggestions for what the future of the Nattermob site should be, what should they do?
They should go here to github.com/Raae/Nattermob.dev, and there we have a discussions tab. And if there's anything you would like us to cover, start a discussion. We can talk about it in the discussions, but then we would also pull out stuff from here to do shows on. So please go ahead and put it in there. And you can also comment on issues if you like. We have some things that we want to do. This is my live now badge that I want. This is the one we were working on today, that we forget to connect. So with our pull request. I guess that's what you were asking. And then also in the description, the links are in the description below, and there is also a link to the newsletter, and you will get a reminder of the streams. And when we do other fun things, like we are planning to do a Gatsby summer camp watch party where we hang out in a video conferencing system called Whereby, and then we watch the conference together and have a drink, and we can like chit chat between the speakers.
Which conference was this?
The Gatsby summer camp.
When is it?
Can't remember.
AK, quickly find it.
Too much like effort. John's really access today.
Yeah.
He figured out Firebase functions for many backend things, but great to have that work easily on Gatsby. So all praise the Gatsby. I'm still not convinced, but that's because I think it just squashed my brains. It just seemed really easy to build stuff.
Ooh,
It's
Benedict, I think you built, yeah.
Yay!
That's interesting. That's maybe a feature request for Gatsby Cloud then. Can we clear cache on preview branches?
Yeah, because you can in Netlify.
Whoa, fighting talk.
Shade!
The contrary to popular belief, merging it in to main was the right thing to do. Just slam it in there.
Slam it in there, and then
We timestamp it, and it's going to be the only timestamp.
and then we'll go here, and then we'll hook it up to the correct issue so that we have that in their image that you're handling. Done.
What a biscuit. Sorry.
But then I forgot to do it before I closed. So now, close issue. Booyah! I feel like this was a good one. We're almost nearing 2 hours. We're like in an hour and 45 minutes. But I think it's been great. And I loved having the chat active. And I hope you learned something about Gatsby Image. I at least feel like I need to go and familiarize myself with the docs a little bit more, because I kind of just like skipped it a little. But after doing this session, I feel like I have kind of the knagger, as we say in Norwegian, to hang them on, the hooks to hang the docs on that will make the docs easier to read now that I've gone through this session. So really, that was a lot of fun. Thank you, Paul, for planning this voyage.
Yeah, no worries. No worries.
I think it was lovely.
Try to make it more intense next time, maybe.
More.
I'm just a really easygoing, cool guy, AK. Like, I'm pretty chilled out, man.
And I think that we will just like do our waves that take too long. I don't have any more closing remarks.
I'm ready.
Yes, for the people who have been with us until now, it means a lot if you like the video, below, and also subscribe to the channel. And if you will add like a comment, not a chat comment, but a comment underneath the video, then YouTube likes us even more. And that's over to you, Ulla.
I'm waving you off. Is that what you want?
Now we need to say.
No, you have to say your outro.
Thing.
Oh, yes! Wow! Thank you. That was close. I just need to fix I just need to fix my binder here. Okay.
Yeah, and while you do that, I'll just tell you, John. Whenever I have to do regex, this is where I go. This is my Bible.
Yeah. I just ask.
Yeah, okay.
Are
you ready?
Wait
for it.
There, we're ready.
Okay. This has been another unauthorized and room.
Oh, wait too soon.
Treasure hunt. Yeah, that's cool. In the sharky waters around the Gatsby Islands with Gatsby deep diving Queen Raae. Nattermob pirates, Paul the Navigator, AK, and Ola. Okay, are you ready to wave? Bye, everybody.
Bye. It's been a good one. Thank you.